Going to reconvene to public session?
Just. You did already adjourn the executive session?
Correct.
Okay, hold on one second. Mayor, we're gonna give Commissioner Campbell a minute to arrive.
Okay.
And then do we have Commissioner Davis online? Yes, we do. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, just wait just a few minutes.
Yes,
for
we'll
him to
wait,
arrive.
obviously.
Thank you.
Are we ready, Madam Clerk?
We're ready.
Okay. We're now going to reconvene to the public session as stated previously. Discussion regarding settlement negotiations and strategy related to litigation expenditures. No? Okay. That's under. We did, but that was underneath. Okay. That was still on the agenda below that. That's why. Anyway, I'm going to call to order the City Commission special called meeting on September 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. We're going to start with the invocation by Pastor Mulberry, Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Jones.
Let's pray. Father, we give you thanks. We give you praise. We give you glory. We thank you for this time of coming together. We pray, God, that you will look on us. We need your help. Our nation is in trouble, our state and our cities. We pray for your wisdom in all that we do, God, that you would be glorified, that your name would be praised. We thank you for this commission. We thank you for the constituents that are gathered here this night. We pray, God, for your help as only you can. In Jesus' name, amen.
You join me in pledge, right? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Campbell,
Present.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Borum,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Mayor Carrera,
Present. Thank you. On to regular business, Ms. Jones.
Mayor Commissioners, today we are here to discuss next step as it pertains to the city manager that is currently on leave and how the commission decided on is going to determine how to continue with the process.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, it's on. So far, the steps, the initial action of this grievance procedure policy is the city manager has already been placed on administrative leave. So the commission now must vote as to whether you're going to continue the paid administrative leave or end the leave. That is going to be our first step.
Okay, and I just need to clarify that the policy regarding the grievance process for the city manager has a supermajority vote requirement that is in direct conflict with our city charter, which only requires a majority. And so the city charter would dictate over policy that was contradictory.
So we are here to determine whether the paid administrative leave continues or the leave ends. Do we want, is that the first thing to respond to? I mean, I know it is in the process of procedure, but given there's been no other discussion or information.
Yes, all of the documentation as it pertains to this process that warranted the process is already, you all should have information regarding all of that. So as that pertains to whether or not this is something we want to move forward with keeping Ms. Carty on leave, which is paid administrative leave at the moment, or do you determine that you all want to end that leave and move in another direction?
Madam Clerk, is that graphic available for the community to see the flow chart? Is that graphic available? And that might be helpful for people to look at to know what the steps are for everybody's sake.
I have a question.
Oh, thank you.
are we disclosing what we actually are deciding if we're gonna put the city manager on a leave for or not? Is that gonna be disclosed? It's a public meeting, so, you know, I wanna know. And I think the public wanna, that's why they're here.
So not the individual, the names that are being protected, of course. We don't want to disclose that as well
Right.
as far as the content. You all can discuss the content of what's actually happening.
Do you agree, Ms. West, before we go any further?
There's nothing that prohibits it. I would exercise caution if I were you. The question before you is fairly simple in terms of this is why this flow chart was created, to provide some guidance in terms of the next steps. Disclosure of the underlying reasons for the complaints and the need for the investigation are not necessarily a requirement in your deliberations.
That's understood and appreciated. However, if a high ranking official like a city manager is being put on leave, we've already been bombarded with questions. I think that is a right to know, at least the allegations. So that's just my personal opinion. That's at the pleasure of this board and the commission. I would like to, that's why I asked the question. Transparency.
I'll go. I want to kind of talk to how we got to this point, which I necessarily did not agree with. I feel that if we were to make the call, it should have been made in a public meeting. And we should have given direction as to what leaves look like. So I don't agree with how, quote unquote, the commission was polled on the outside, via email, via phone calls, and we got to this decision. I think it's a slap in the face to Ms. Carty, to be put on leave and not have the opportunity to at least have the commission face her. That's our employee. So I disagree with how we got to this point. With regards to the leave, should that be the will of the commission, it should have been determined in a meeting just like this. So I will go on the record to say I totally disagree with how we got to this point. And I don't think it's fair to Ms. Carty. And if that's a policy type decision, we need to revisit the policy so that we will never get to this point again, be it Ms. Carty or whoever sits in that city manager position. As her, as our employee, our only employee, I think, again, it's a slap in the face and the process doesn't look good. Because apparently, if there were conversations with other commissioners, that conversation should happen together collectively regarding our employee and not via email, not via phone calls. And we certainly shouldn't make a decision, especially of the highest ranking official in the city, to make a determination to give her leave and we all not on the same page. So I believe that the process is backwards and it needs to be looked at. So with reference to the flow chart, the conversation, I think we're putting the cart before the horse, because even in this meeting, we're looking to appoint an intern. And we haven't even treated our city manager with the dignity and respect that she deserves. Not saying
No applause,
that
please, though.
allegations that have come before her, I take that very seriously. But the process of where we are now, I believe that Ms. Carty should have had the opportunity to hear it from her employers as our only, as our only hire.
Yes, sir.
So that's the only thing I disagree with regards to moving forward, or with regards to, if she should be put on administrative leave or continue. I would love to hear the conversation. I would love to hear the rest of the commission on that. And I think that would have sufficed in a meeting just like we had with this meeting.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, go ahead. Davis.
Commissioner Davis, yes, I do. I agree with Commissioner Campbell. I have been trying to really understand this process from the perspective of due process, and two, because of the nature of the position, the city manager being the CEO of the city, that we select the CEO, that entire process is open to public, and how we can do it in a way that ensures due process for all involved and with information to the city to alleviate rumors and people trying to understand what's happening behind closed doors, and something that should be a public process disclosing appropriate information. So I agree wholeheartedly with Commissioner Campbell. And it also, as the employee of the city manager, puts us at a huge disadvantage of not understanding what's occurring. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown?
Well, I'm in agreement with both Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Campbell as it relates to how we got here. Again, I'm a firm believer in due process and due care. And that's what we really have to do in order for us to be able to take any action. Again, I think I don't know if there was any attorney involvement with getting direction as to how we move forward with where we are now. Was attorney involved? Were you a part of this? Or-
No, I was only informed of her being placed on leave after it had happened.
Right. So what, even at that, I think we still need to make sure that we, from a standpoint, because what we don't want to do is, from a standpoint of due care, it's based on our actions. If we take action and our employee feels that due process not taking place, that puts us in a legal situation. And I'm not a big fan of being in legal situations. We already currently have a number of things that we have going at this point now, and I don't want to add on to that pile.
I'm gonna ask the question, how did we get here?
Okay, to the administrative leave part, information, when I had employees come in, speak to me.
Well, let me be more specific in my question. How did we get to the point of calling for her to be on administrative leave?
Okay.
I get how we got to that point, but how did we get, or who made the call to put on administrative leave?
Okay, so when all of the information, I sent out all of the information to notify everything that I had and to get a response as to how we wanted to proceed with the information that was had. Now, the feedback I got, I sent back out in detail, just saying, not disclosing anything, but just these were the recommendations on how this process needs to look and what needs to be done about it. So that information was there. Each of you should have received that information.
The question is, who made the call? And how did I got the process,
Okay.
but I want to know who made the call.
Mhm.
Was it a poll of the commission collectively that got you to the point of administrative leave?
Yes, it was
without because by the time I got back to you, the email was sent at approximately I want to say 4 something that day before. By the time I got to you the next morning, shortly after 9 o'clock, that she had already been put on administrative leave. So it's not a collective because you didn't hear from me.
Right. So not all, and I will say that I didn't have a response back. However, I did have a response back from other commissioners, either via phone or responding back to the email. At that point, that's where the decision with the discussion, of course, with the mayor, that a letter was drawn up to take action on that administrative leave portion that Thursday morning. So I think you're speaking of Wednesday, and that was that Thursday morning.
And there was also, yes, Ms. Connie respectfully deserves her opportunity for due diligence and for her chance to tell or to talk about this, but also there was a concern. There were several employees that filed complaints, and there was a concern for them as well. So it was trying to make it safe for everybody involved. And with that, once those complaints were received by HR, there was the concern, again, because Ms. Connie supervised all those individuals, you know, how we could protect everybody essentially.
And I get that, and I'm not going against that, and I don't want anyone to nitpick that I'm not trying to protect the employees as well. However, what I'm trying to say is, we call an emergency meeting for everything else. We could have called an emergency meeting for this, to give the proper respect, to give her the opportunity. She didn't even have to say something, but to face the individuals who would have or could have given her the leave if we desired so, as a collective unit. And that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Now, when it comes down to the protection of the employees, absolutely. But again, I have to make it publicly known that I disagree with the method of how we got here. Because I was the one who requested that we have a meeting as soon as possible so that we can discuss this.
Yeah, I did as well. I mean, I wanted a meeting.
Yes, I mean,
But
I think we all wanted a meeting.
Well, I'm saying I was, when I say I was one of the, well, I was one of the ones that requested a meeting. But that meeting, when we initially, and I think there's a disconnect because again, if you're looking to make a decision, especially with our hire, it would have been of great importance to make sure you heard from everybody before a decision was made of this magnitude.
My hand is raised. I just want to bring that to someone's attention, and I'll wait for my turn.
And so when a decision is made, it reflects the entire commission. And this reflects, or what was done reflects the entire commission. And I'm not one to really dive into the rhetoric that happens on social media, but we are looking, or we have been painted as the bad guys. And that's not the desire of what I want for a position that I take very seriously. I take all of our employees very serious. But again, if this happens with our hire, again, she should have had the opportunity to hear from the commission as a whole, and we should not have been able to take, I've heard from this, I've heard from that, because it's not a true reflection of the entire decision that could have been made. Whether it led to her being on administrative leave or not, she should have had the opportunity. And I'll say it again, we call emergency meetings for things that are not as important than the person that we hired.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes. So in the vein of Commissioner Campbell's comments, I did provide feedback, and I believe it was clear. And for other commissioners who did or did not, what I'm hearing and what I want to also clarify is, although I did give my recommendation, the process is flawed in the fact that even if you get it, where is the opportunity for us to understand the decision or give input to that decision as a whole? And that is only in a meeting. And that's the gap. Some of us went from being able to give feedback timely, and some did not, as Commissioner Campbell just mentioned. But what happens after that is the black hole. And that's what I'm hearing. And that black hole blindsides commissioners because we don't know the ultimate outcome. It also blindsides the public. It blindsides our PIO, anyone who can provide clear information so that we are not causing a panic in our community. I'm going to also venture to say, with the previous city managers, I was not a commissioner when similar things occurred and they were handled in a way that I believe was not professional or in a way that gave everyone due process. And it causes an additional unnecessary consequences when we make these decisions in a way that is not clear to everyone. I sat through those meetings as a community member. And I've given feedback since I've been a commissioner that there are some human resources processes that really need to be tightened up because they do result consistently in untimely information, what is, and when even when it's not, gives the appearance of an undue process. And the commission absolutely wants to protect our city staff members and even ensuring that their process is fair and timely. But at the end of the day, I know we have a policy that is written, but what's missing out of that, to Commissioner Campbell's point, is how we get to an action without the full commission being able to meet, provide information in a way that honors everyone, including our public, so that we can make right decisions. The city has been in a spiral when it comes to our hiring and retaining and addressing city managers and personnel issues. And we keep doing the same thing over and over and getting the same result. That is not acceptable at all. It puts the commission in a bad light. It puts the city manager in a bad light. It puts the staff members who have reports, I would think, in an insecure position, understanding how things will appropriately be handled. And now I believe the commission has been put in a position of no matter what we do on the back end, I'm not confident that the consequences are more extreme than they would have been had we been able to come together in a public forum and make decisions on the front end. If we decide, which we were just given these choices, do we continue with her paid administrative leave or do we end it and take another consequence? I'm not sure that I can fully make make that decision based on the information I have. I could, I'm not confident that it's complete enough information along with a fair process for us to make that decision. It is very frustrating when we're trying to do the right thing for all involved, including our public, and we keep being put in the position of making decisions in a do or die situation without all the information due process. And I hope I'm not repeating myself, but just hear me. How do we get here each time by doing the same thing and getting the same undesired result and more consequences than the original situation that we're trying to address. Thank you.
Any additional comments on this?
Well, as far as moving forward, I think that I would make the recommendation that we remove the administrative leave, allow Ms. Carty to return back to work. From there, we as a commission make the determination of how collectively we would like to go move forward, whether it's doing a corrective action plan, or something implementing. Because I will even go to the extent of that Ms. Carty has not even been evaluated yet. And given the evaluation, these are things that we could have addressed in the evaluation process. Whether with regards to those that work up under her that have submitted the grievances, maybe we can take in consideration allowing them to get direction from another person on staff temporarily until we determine if a investigation is warranted, which if that's what it takes, I'm for it, if we agree on it as a commission. But again, for our employee, I want to make sure that every option has been put out before we haste to make a decision. That could be costly, that could cost us not only with Ms. Carty, but costly with a lot of things that we have going on within the city that she has knowledge of, that she is a part of. And those things that if she is no longer in that position could cost us tremendously, which will then affect the services that we render to our community. So I will first say that I make the recommendation that we remove the administrative leave.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Davis?
Yes, I'm here. So I, at this point, am going to disagree with Commissioner Campbell. We do have a process issue. My concern, and I'm disagreeing at this point, because I'd like to, I'd like to reserve based on additional information that comes if this should be different. So as one of the commissioners who meets with Ms. Carty weekly, knowing that we each have to give her feedback on her performance, we've had dates. I have given Ms. Carty feedback, and I have given Ms. Carty feedback according to information I received from HR when requested to get a survey from her direct reports. I did meet with Ms. Carty about those survey results. We had an action plan. And the reason I'm not agreeing with removing her leave at this point is because I do believe the reports that employees have made, and because of the number of reports, I believe they warrant her being on leave. What again I was disagreeing with is how we came to the point of putting her on leave. I do believe that was the right action, but I don't believe it was determined by the full commission. In addition, this is very difficult because of the point we are in where our city is and how we're moving and the things that we have to address. We have some critical items that have to be addressed and are being addressed. But at this point, I'm not seeing the detriment to those things outweighing the need for her to be on leave. And I'm going to stop there and get additional information from this meeting.
So my point is really being proved, has been made. And I'm not going back and forth. But if we came to the conclusion that we didn't agree with how we got to this point, why not allow us the opportunity to correct our wrong, bring her back, and if we so decide that this is warranted, that we do it in a way that we all just basically spoke about. I'm not saying that the leave is not necessary. I'm not saying that it's not without clause. However, if we are going to do it, let's do it the right way. This is not the right way. And again, from everything that I stated before, even with the comment that Commissioner Davis made, and I respect everything that she said, had we not gotten to this point, would Ms. Carty still be working? Yes. Anything that would have needed to be addressed by the commission would have to have been done in a public forum, or it would have needed to be done via what? Her evaluation, where we as a commission, we failed because we did not provide Ms. Carty with her evaluation. So that's why I stated I want, and Miss Jones, she did send out the information with regards to the evaluation. So I want that to be publicly known that you did send out information with regards to the evaluation. But again, if we did not do something the correct way, this is our opportunity to do it the correct way. That's the only reason I made the request that we uplift the administrative leave and then go about it the correct way.
And to the point of not completing the evaluation, which we needed to do on her, there was a series of reasons where she had to keep taking on the role of the finance director up until recently, which kept postponing the evaluation process.
It shouldn't have.
No,
And so maybe we need
I
to
disagree,
rethink that.
Mayor. Yeah.
It
yeah.
shouldn't have, because at
Well,
the end of the
excuse
day.
me, can I finish, please? I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that was the reason why we haven't done it. Doesn't make it the reason. I'm not disagreeing. We
Okay.
should have done it. Yes, but that was why we kept procrastinating, for lack of a better term.
It-
Mayor,
it-
I didn't procrastinate. Again,
I didn't either.
I meet with Ms. Carty.
I didn't either.
I meet with Ms. Carter very regularly, and again, I have received an a pre-evaluation, a self-evaluation from Ms. Carty. So I did move forward, and I did receive those surveys and everything. So I'm very involved with a lot of different things that happen. So if some of us are procrastinating, it's certainly not me.
To speak to that, though, the point being, if this whole discussion has been predicated by the fact that we did not meet and make this determination as a collective body, we also can't evaluate her individually. We've got to do it as a collective body. And so we've discussed this previously as well. I meet with Ms. Carty every week too. And do I give her suggestions, recommendations for change based on feedback? Yes. But do I do an evaluation? No, because again, it has to be this whole body coming together to submit those evaluations. Even if we do them individually and submit them as a whole, we would have to present them to her together. And we have not done that. So again, if we're going to say we need to do it for this process, which I agree we do, then we need to do it for all processes as her supervisors.
Well, I don't.
Mayor,
I'm
sorry.
Yeah, I just don't, please, and anybody on the board should not speak for another commissioner, especially
right.
when we're talking about something you did.
I said, we as a board are not.
D-
But you,
Oh,
even in your last meeting, Mayor,
I'm
you
gonna
said
call for a point of
Okay,
order.
one at a
We drug
time,
our feet.
please,
I'm
Commissioner.
just calling for a point of
Yeah,
order
but-
because
But no, the
Commissioner
point of order,
Forbes seems to have
the mayor
floor.
cut in on
No,
my,
no.
the mayor cut in on
I was
my
calling a point of
communication.
order on the mayor.
Point of order.
Yes, she called on you, Mayor, so just. So, and that's what happened in the last meeting, and I brought it to your attention. Please, if you're gonna run the meetings, please be fair how you run the meeting. I think I made my statement. I've been clear as to how I move forward with the only employee that we have. And again, I am ready to move forward with an evaluation. But again, you cannot really truly evaluate the individual until you have sat down and given this individual some milestones to meet in alignment with the city's priorities. You cannot evaluate a person when you feel like you want to do it without their sign off on it, because it has to be something that they agree on as well.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Davis?
Yes, I apologize. I'm trying to make sure I'm off mute. I did the same thing as Commissioner Borum. I did an evaluation. I received her evaluation, her self-evaluation as well in writing. We reviewed it. I reviewed with Ms. Cardi the feedback from the survey that I received from HR, and I completed my review of her based on my observations, the feedback, and results since she has been city manager. And yes, we did have some delays when and I believe it was gracious when the first finance manager that Ms. Cardi hired left. After that, we gave grace, and now we have another finance manager, but we had definitive timelines based on the grace period that we gave. In addition, I sent an email to Ms. Jones in HR asking for the process for a commission made up of 5 individuals who have to render feedback on her evaluation. And what does that look like for the final eval? Is it pulling together all 5 of our evaluations and creating an average? And I received an answer from Ms. Jones that directed me, and Ms. Jones, please correct me if I'm wrong, that we individually needed to complete the process, submit them to HR, and it would move forward from there. Now, what I cannot answer is if the other commissioners knew this, or if this was communicated from HR to the other commissioners so that we could understand what that process and what our expectations were. And again, this speaks to my concerns about certain HR processes that I believe are not holding us accountable to the way things should go because, one, of a lack of communication, lack of understanding, and again, the nature of our business. We cannot meet, and yet we all collectively have to evaluate her. So my question was, what does that look like? And I would like for Ms. Jones to explain that. And also, while I have the floor, Commissioner Campbell, I'm pondering what you're saying, and I do agree. We do need to make things right. What I'm not sure about is because of these actions, what does it look like to make it right? If we lift the leave, I get it. That is putting us back to a point so that we can do the process properly. However, because of the nature of the reports and the impact on employees, I guess I'm not convinced, or I don't see that that is still the best course of action for all involved. Maybe for Ms. Cardi, I don't know. My bigger question is, even if we did, what does that time period look like? Because can we do it tonight? This is a call meeting. Do we do it tomorrow night? I mean, what does it look like? We are disrupting a process right now already that's in place with Chief Shaw has been acting, I'm sorry, he's been acting interim manager. We pull all that back. Everybody goes back. Do they go back for a day, 2 day? I guess that's what I need help with. Thank you.
I can go on.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jones.
If I may, we talked about evaluations, which is really not on the regular business. So we're here for external investigation of city manager, a formal appointment of interim city manager. Could we get back to, I do like Commissioner Campbell's question. His first question is how we got here. And Mayor, I think you owe us that explanation of how we got here because the actions that's been taken has been taken by you solely. And so if you could explain, it could bring everybody up to speed and then we probably can move forward and make a rational decision. So if you would, please
I will
explain.
explain my involvement, and it wasn't solely a decision made by me, first of all, just to clarify. On Wednesday, when HR sent or shared with all of us the complaints that were received to that point, I had a discussion with HR. We looked at the policy. I asked her to reach out to all of you to see what your thoughts were on how to proceed. She did that according to what I was told from HR. She reached out to all of you. We didn't, of course, that was Wednesday. We did not, we had a meeting Wednesday night, as we all know, we were all here. Miss Connie was here as well. And so when we talked on Thursday, it was a concern not only for the employees who filed the complaints. At that point, there were 3. Since then, a couple more have come in, 3 more. But at that point also, the concern was for Miss Connie. Yes, we are her only, she is our only employee rather, but the concern of having her in the public, she is side issues, sidebar, dealing with a lot of other things personally. We all thought that would be very difficult for her. And when I say that, when I talked to HR drafted a letter basically saying to Miss Connie, you're being paid on administrative leave, and that was based also on the fact that she had reached out to all of you, correct, Ms.
Yes.
Jones?
I sent the information to all of the commissioners, so
And you got-
everybody had it.
Okay,
So-
and you received responses from how many? You don't have to tell me anymore.
1, 2, 3. 3,
Plus me or 3 inclusive of me?
3 inclusive of you. Yes, and I think yes, Commissioner Campbell was the one that I did not hear.
Case in point, the decision that was made.
But you're
But
asking
when
me to
you-
explain. Let me
let
finish
her
explaining. So I'm just saying, based on the information I was given, that the majority of the commission felt that she should be paid unpaid leave. That was the information I was given. The letter was written. I gave her the letter. I presented it to her. She had the city car here. We went to her house. I took the city car back. She was very gracious. She just said something to the effect of, do I have to stay here in Palaco? And I said, no. Obviously, she had to deal with family issues, and that was that for that day. So she was placed on paid leave. That is how that came about.
To answer your question.
Go ahead.
It further proves that we've gotten to this point, and we shouldn't be at this point the way that we got to this point. When the mayor gave direction, and we talk about this at other meetings, when information is disseminated via email, and especially to this magnitude, we've requested that a follow-up be done with a phone call to ensure, I don't know about anybody else, but I have 6 people in my household. I have 4 children. I'm being pulled in 4 different ways. So emails, if I get an email at the close of business, I respond by calling the next day at the opening of business to respond to the email. the action was already done. And based on what I'm hearing, it was done based off of 3 commissioners. For whatever reason, those 3 commissioners made that decision. It still did not reflect the entire commission. When we make a vote, we make a vote of yay or we make a vote of nay as a collective. What moved forward, that wasn't a quorum on a decision that affects the highest ranking person for the city. So moving forward with the decision, it still was wrong. Regardless of what we would have determined as a collective, the way we got to this point was not a true reflection. And I will even go and say this. With several other city managers, information was disseminated via email. And when it came to us having a conversation, not everybody weighed back in and decisions were made. We can't afford to make another wrong decision with this commission. I understand everybody's point of view, but as an elected official for the city of Palaca, you all are not taking the beatings that we're taking because lack of process on our end, on the city's end. We take those beatings. They're not mentioning anybody else's name but this commission, and I don't think you understand how we are being perceived. And we are not being perceived in a delightful manner. We're being received as we don't know what we're doing. We're making the same mistakes that we've made before. We need to get up out of there. Some even went to even calling us names. You all are not getting that. We're getting it. And in order for us to make sure that we move forward in complete transparency, all of these things, we have to correct our wrong. And I'm going to stand firm on correcting our wrong, whether it leads back to an administrative leave or it doesn't. We have to correct our wrong. And it's wrong.
Does anybody else have anything to say at this time? Commissioner Davis' hand isn't up. Okay, well, we need to make a decision one way or another as to whether the leave continues or not. I'm sorry, we need to make a decision about whether the leave continues or not, the administrative leave.
Okay, so what is the alternative if the leave does not continue? What's the alternative?
The alternative is she returns to work. I'll let Ms. Jones.
I gave a recommendation.
Ms. Jones, go ahead.
So the
SHR.
recommendation, as Commissioner Campbell stated, that the ends leave, it was either continue or end. So if the leave ends, and that is the recommendation of the commission, Ms. Carty would be coming back to work again to right or wrong, as stated. Then the commission should form a meeting, special call. So everybody is on the same page facing Ms. Carty, so that you all will be able to make a decision whether she goes back out on leave or you decide to proceed another way. The problem is everybody would be on the same page at the same time.
And the other option, of course, and I'm just saying this, if the leave ends, the other option is, and I'm not suggesting we do that, would be termination, but I'm just saying we're not doing that, but I'm.
Yeah,
is it
termination.
Only two ways.
Termination is not an
No,
option
I know
at
that.
this time because she haven't even been given her due process, due diligence.
I agree. I'm just saying.
But I would like for the city attorney to weigh in on, given the gravity of all the things that we have, we need some guidance in this regard because we do not want to get into any additional legal matters as it relates. So we need legal guidance.
Sure. The legal guidance here is to follow your policy that you adopted back in April. And that's what this flow chart reflects. And you have some decision points here. That's why this flow chart was hopefully created to help guide you through that process. But this is your policy that was adopted back in April. And these are the decisions. They're not easy decisions that you need to proceed with in terms of moving forward.
Well, again, I hear what you say about the policy, but also what was on paper spoke in conflict with what our city charter is as it relates to votes and then supermajority as opposed to simple majority. So
Right.
that's a direct conflict. So if that's part of that whole deal, then which one, we got to go with the charter, which is the 3-2
That is
or
true.
5-0, however it comes out, but it's simple majority.
Right. The charter really only speaks to termination. It doesn't speak to administrative leave. So you have a different policy on administrative leave to provide guidance. That 3-2, not a supermajority, that language in the charter only is reference to termination. And that's also reflected in Ms. Carty's contract. So that is what holds there. But I think we're getting a little bit of ahead of
Right.
ourselves.
So
There's
aside-
steps before that.
Well, but that's part of this packet and that's not an option. So
Right, right.
I certainly won't want to go down that path.
Right.
So even though we do have the various concerns that staff has brought before us, via email or just, in-person contact, emails or whatever else that made the pathway that they came. We did lean toward other information coming in from previous, turbulence in the administration, in the administration ranks. So in my opinion, I'm leaning more toward making sure that everybody have their due diligence, due care and due process. And if the worst case scenario, we're gonna just do an investigation to make sure that we are giving her all of the process that she needs
That's
in order
right.
to be
You're-
able to, because we only heard from one side so far.
That's right. All we have now are allegations. That is all you have. There has not been an internal investigation, nor should you conduct an internal investigation. If you're going to proceed with an investigation, which I would advise that you proceed with, so you determine, and this is fairness for all parties involved. That has to be conducted in order to determine whether or not there's merit to these allegations. And it also affords Ms. Carty an opportunity to talk to the investigator and have her side conveyed here. You cannot bypass that process, in my legal opinion.
So these other things should not even be an option then, if it relates to that, we should not even see these other options because we're bypassing, we could potentially pick something that could be a pitfall.
I think the initial question is whether or not she stays on leave pending the investigation or not.
Go ahead, Commissioner Campbell. Then Ms.
Thank you,
Davidson.
Commissioner Bowen, for those statements, because that's essentially what I was trying to say. But even with the flow chart, I still see an issue because it says commissions vote, continue leave, and then if yes, it says leaves continue, and then it has this whole flowing chart of things. If we vote no, the leaves end, and there's nothing that it flows down to, if I'm making sense. So this graphic is a little misleading as well, because should we vote no and the leave ends, we still can call for an investigation, which is still an option. And from that, if there is an investigation, those employees who have alleged whatever they have alleged, the allegations, then we address how or who they report to. So there's still a flow chart that could flow even with if the leave ends. That still would show that we're taking this matter serious, we're addressing the matter, we're preserving the right to protect all of the individuals that are a part of this process. And then it gives us as a commission the opportunity to make a sound decision versus a hasty decision.
Mayor,
Commissioner Davis?
yes. I want to get clarification. So we have the allegations. We have the reports. Where in there, I'm looking at this flow chart, where is there the opportunity to do an internal investigation? Is that an option, is external investigation our only option? That's one question, and then I have a follow-up to that, depending on the answer.
So it is definitely my legal advice that an external investigation be conducted. I have seen case law that says the internal investigation is rife with pitfalls. So that is my legal advice on that issue.
Okay. And so what I also hear, and I'm going to ask to clarify if not. So based on the feedback the commission is given and legal advice or legal direction is we're here and it says we have two choices: to end her leave or to continue the leave. And I want to clarify because I think based on our conversation that there's a third choice, is to basically roll back to before the leave, before she was put on leave. And the reason I'm saying it's not to discontinue her leave is because, to Commissioner Campbell's point, if we're looking at this flow chart, that we're not trying to do any of that. We're trying to roll back and do the process correctly, as if we receive the reports and allegations. We've given our feedback, but we need to have a call meeting to determine how we want to do it. Do we want to proceed? And I don't hope I'm not splitting hairs, because what I hear is we haven't, as a commission, determined if we even want to put her on administrative leave from the initial report and allegations.
Were you going to say something, Commissioner?
Is that what we're here for today?
I think that's what we're here for today, and I only did want to make a point, and I respect Commissioner Campbell's thought about bringing Miss Cotty back, don't have a problem with that, and starting over again, and assigning those employees who file complaints to somebody else as a for them to be supervised. But it will be pretty obvious who filed the complaints once you do that. It will make that, everybody will know right away, because they will no longer be reporting to Ms. Cotty, they'll be reporting to somebody else. So I'm not so sure that can work in the best interest of everybody, but just throwing that out there. So we are here to make a decision though,
Yeah.
about whether to
Yeah.
return, to
Mhm.
continue to leave or not.
Yeah.
Has anybody, any further discussion right at this moment?
Because I think we're trying to decide, are we going to try to unring a bell?
Right.
Right.
That's what's very difficult for me. I'm agreeing, but I don't know how to unring a bell.
Commissioner Davis, if I may, I don't think we could unring that bell because the action is already done. Ms. Carter's already on leave.
Right.
So, like trying to squeeze toothpaste back into a toothpaste tube.
Mhm.
It's done.
Right.
So I think at this point that we should go ahead and decide at this point, are we going to continue to leave or not? But I'm like you and Commissioner Campbell on the no, I don't think it should end because there's still, I think there's opportunity to actually go ahead with the investigation. And it has to be external because everybody reports to her. So you're gonna have your direct report investigating you, that won't work.
Right.
So if we all are thinking clearly, and we got to think of totality, the complainants and our employee, where do we want to go? Do we want to continue so that we could also give her a fair shake? Or do you feel that she could continue to work while external investigation is going on? And that, I think that's the question right now, period.
Mhm.
I agree. Is there any further discussion for the moment? I need to open the floor to public comment briefly and then we can come back.
Yeah, and then my question,
No public comments? Okay.
Mayor, I guess the question is then what about the employees? Do we just carry on as we are? That, I guess I'm still missing something.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Foil.
I think that would be a dangerous process. I mean, because we got to put protective measures in place. We had people who came forth, and in most cases, people don't like to make any complaints against their direct supervisor or manager or whatever because for the fear of repercussions. And so we are going to have to do our part in making sure that when she does come back, that those protective measures are in place and we do have some monitoring situations in to making sure that whatever the allegations are, that it can't get any worse, and making sure that those individuals are protected, even Ms. Carter, because that way she's protected and the employees are protected, and we just got to figure out the best way to make that happen.
Thank you.
So,
Mr. Wood-
oh,
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Commissioner Davis. I was just gonna ask. you something.
I'm still, I want to go back. We've given our opinions. We've given our feedback. At the end of the day, from an HR professional standpoint, and I want to talk because it's not one person. It was, I think we said 3, and now Miss Mayor, I believe you mentioned 3 more I wasn't even aware of. We're talking several people, and again, to the HR manager, from an HR professional, what, I always ask this question, what is best practice? And if it's not relevant here, that may be the answer as well. And then I think I can move forward accordingly.
As these, the individuals that, that has been stated, they are direct reports to Ms. Carty. The fact to take her off leave and bring her back, to try to correct what you all didn't get to come together collectively and make that decision, could be a good idea, but I don't see the protection or the ability to isolate or put those individuals in a place where they're not right there. To separate any of those employees from not reporting is gonna be just a direct, I know who it is. And I don't think that's gonna be beneficial for either Ms. Carty or for those individuals. That just would not be, I don't see that being a healthy relationship, and it could become more damaging than it is. And anything, because if you were to just put them back there and we don't know who the employees are, and the same allegations, because we don't know what they are made again. Now we got another thing that we're opening up.
And it proves a point. Then action can be taken officially. So there's a process, even with the process, it allows the case, I don't want to say case, but if those things continue that has already been brought to our attention, then we can take official action.
Okay.
And the reason, and I'm gonna say it, we still didn't follow our policy correctly from the beginning. We waited until we got official statements before the 72 hours started to notify Ms. Carty. We got emails way before with the allegations that grievances was, yes, Mayor, I see you twitching your eye.
I'm not saying anything.
But we got official, the documentation came via email from Ms. Jones. I contacted Ms. Jones and asked about the process. It was stated that we were in compliance until we got a written statement from the individuals. Then that started the 72 hours of her notification. If that was the case, Ms. Carty should have been on
Mhm.
administrative leave, which then further explains we had the time to call for a special meeting because we got the allegations a few days before we got the official written statement. Am I missing something, Commission?
The
I don't
allegation,
think,
oh, go
well,
ahead. Miss- Go ahead.
I
Miss
don't think
Davis.
so, to answer.
So
I'm with
so
Campbell.
again, if we are following process,
So,
we didn't follow the process.
so in order for the complainant to be notified or the complaint in writing to the complainant, our policy states within 2 business days of receipt of the complaint or as soon as practical. So if we were waiting before Ms. Carty had been notified to get written statements, even though you all had that information, and that's in section 2, line 2 of city manager grievance and report and investigatory procedures. So as soon as practical, which would actually put us in line with our policy. So it did not have to be, and I think I stated that when I communicated. So as it stood, we were in guidelines of our policy. Because although it does allow for 2 days for her to be notified, but if we're waiting for documentation and it could not be obtained immediately, although you all received it, because the individuals were not here to obtain it. So I had to wait for those individuals to return, and they came in at different periods of time. So I was waiting to get all 3. When the 3rd individual was back, I did get the information, and that's when I immediately reported to you all that I had all the statements and gave them to you, because I did not have it. So we could have, as soon as I notified you that we had these complaints or
Allegations would.
allegations that have been communicated to me, it was still, they were communicated to me.
Come on, y'all. We got the initial email
Mhm.
on the 4th. We didn't get the actual written documentation until the 10th, which stated that's what, 5 days, 4 or 5 days. In that time frame, given that there was staff complaints, even with the staff complaints as they were initially sent, maybe the complaint involved a little bit more, but there was nothing more detailed in those individual email or in individual communications that was not initially talked about in the 4th email. So again, even if we got, and I called and I asked for the steps. Again, I want to make it clear, if we had the time to wait, we had the time to call for a meeting to bring this, and maybe the point, I'm beating it over, but again, I'll say the time frame did not, to me, meet the qualifications that are laid out. When we got that initial complaint on the 4th, 2 days later, Ms. Carty should have been notified that there are allegations. We should not have waited until we got official documentation, knowing that that documentation was coming anyway, because the complaint was already made.
What if they would have changed their mind?
What if they
But-
weren't willing to put it right?
I mean, I'm just being.
Even if they were not willing to put it in writing, the complaint went to HR.
No,
She had a,
No.
If it is not in writing, it don't happen. I mean,
Doesn't
she's
exist.
waiting for,
how?
I mean, if someone just says something, that's one thing, but she put it in writing, now she actually have a formal complaint. She have something to push through.
Right.
So you know,
That's
that's,
why
you
I
know,
went to
I
the-
have to agree with her on that,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell.
Right.
You know, you're talking about hearsay versus
Correct.
Right.
That was my
facts.
concern.
So she dealing with facts at that point.
And I concur with Commissioner Jones on that, to Ms. Commissioner Campbell, because here's the reason why. When you look at the 4th was on a Thursday, and I think Ms. Carter was out of town on that Friday. And so and if you have to give it within that time period and she's out because I was supposed to have been meeting with her because I was supposed to be meeting with her and Chief Shaw on that day. And so, but again, that will push you off into almost 10. But so I think the key things there was it need to be in writing because again, Ms. Jones did say that they made a complaint and Ms. Jones communicated to me that she said that if you want to make a complaint, it needs to be in writing. And when we had another employee that could not respond at that time because there were some other things going on at that time that she could not provide or he or she could not provide the information. So I don't want to put he or she, I'm just going to put he or she could not provide that information. So I could see where it could have gotten to the 10th, and I think that is still within the policy and guideline as soon as practical. And, from based on what I understand and know.
Chief Shaw, you wanted to say something?
Sure, if I could. I just want to make a proposal because what I'm hearing from the commission is the decision on wanting to bring Ms. Carty back and how not to interfere or affect the other employees. I think you have an option to where the employees, if you put someone, as you've done me, temporarily, and not to say it has to be me first, I want to make that clear. But if you do happen to put someone in place to during the time temporarily to be able to allow the employees to report to them while Ms. Carty comes back to conduct the city manager's business. You have an assistant city manager's position that they can act in, that the employees can report to her and it will protect those employees. But it would also allow for those individuals, for you all to be able to address Ms. Carty, bring her back and decide which direction you want to go in. It gives a fair practice or a procedure for you to operate in for all parties involved, and it doesn't leave anyone out there to where you would have to worry about any type of retaliation.
You want to say something, Commissioner Jones?
No, wait, no, you, Mayor, go ahead.
I'm still, I have to say, and again, it's the majority. I'm still concerned about creating a somewhat hostile work environment for everybody concerned by bringing Ms. Carty back. Is there any way she can do some things from home that need her attention, that are important to the operation of the city? Work remote.
A lot of the city manager's job is in the
Yeah, I
office
know
for the
that.
most
I'm
of it.
just throwing out another.
So with being said, but the fact if, and I'm gonna use you, Chief Shaw, was standing in that, say interim city manager position so that it couldn't just be certain employees that report to Ms. Carty, so that it
Everybody.
would not point out the employees.
It would be
It would
everybody.
have to be everybody that report to Ms. Carty would be reporting to the interim until. So everybody, just all of Ms. Carty's direct reports, so that it wouldn't be who exactly, because if you just got some of them, it's gonna be easy to isolate out.
Right. Absolutely.
So if all of Ms. Carty's direct reports were reporting to Chief Shaw, then that wouldn't be so easy to isolate out.
I
Or
also,
because she needs to talk to legal, so I definitely wouldn't prohibit that because a lot of communication goes on with the legal as well as myself. So
I think that will be very difficult for her, in fairness to her.
So have legal been in communication with the complainants at all?
No.
Fails. Do you want your?
Wait, shut your phone off, whatever that is. Thank you.
We need to go ahead and wrap it up. Make a decision.
We have to make decisions. I think that's going to be very difficult for Ms. Carter to come back and
Ms. Pierre has something to say?
go ahead.
you got your mic on?
Please.
No, you
come up-
have my.
Please come up to the podium.
Come up to.
So having been here hired on July 14th, and today is now September 15th, it's been pretty much 60 days. And I was working very closely with Ms. Carty. She spent a lot of time with me. And having to report to someone else wouldn't necessarily be so helpful, only because Ms. Cardy has been the finance director, and she's able to provide direct guidance. And having her removed was a big shift for me. And, I can't speak for anyone else, but just only being here 60 days, it's been a big shift for me. So you mentioned her working from home. I would have no problem being her only direct report. She built a great rapport with me. I believe she's a great supervisor. I've never had anyone so as helpful as Miss Cardy. And I would dare say that there are maybe other employees that feel the same way that I do. So just.
Ms. Davis' hands is raised. Commissioner Davis.
Miss Commissioner Davis?
Yes. Again, we're in a very unique situation. We just happen to have a city manager who was previously the city's finance director. That I don't think is a common occurrence. And so that does bring up a concern for me here as well. How long is that? Because we have a full finance department. And I'm just concerned that even that relationship has gone on this long. Not saying that it doesn't require ongoing support, but if the relationship is that close as an employee, I'm sorry, with the city manager spending that much time with the finance director, and she has other employees, I'm concerned.
Hmm.
No, please, I mean, you can't keep on driving.
But it,
Go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, okay.
Because
Yeah.
at some point, when does it become a conflict of interest that the city manager is directing the finance director? The city manager directing the finance director. That's my concern.
May I ask,
Commissioner,
1 minute. Sorry,
you go ahead.
Commissioner Jones.
since this is the profession that the chief normally oversees, and that's investigations. And I know we're talking about doing an independent investigation outside, sourcing somebody from outside to do an investigation. Something of this magnitude, could you give us a timeline of what you think, or what you would expect an independent investigation would take with the allegation that's been brought forth? Because I'm leaning toward let's move forward doing the investigation so that we could carry on with the city business. How we got here is one thing, but we're here, so we need to take some action and move forward and try to mitigate the damages as possible.
So if all parties involved are in place and you're able to do all interviews and review all complaints, it would more likely be, and if the investigator was here full-time, you would more likely be probably a 2-week process. If it's a part-time, you're looking at approximately a month. And that's because you have to schedule all of the interviews. You have to take into account for all of the documentation presented and do the investigation completely. And then you have to be able to formulate the report to present to you all.
Ms. West, did you?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
can we talk about the one thing we haven't? Okay, I guess that'll come up later. You're right. We putting carts before horses. You're right. But I just want to consider how much is this going to cost?
and I think this is not the first time we've had an investigation of the city manager while the city manager was still functioning in the capacity of a city manager.
Well, we never had a city manager investigation to this point. We had approved one, but it never took place. And that's again, the other key thing that I think we can't put cost on this thing, because if we start limiting ourselves to cost, then what is the ultimate cost if we don't do it. And I would rather err on the side of caution to move forward with the investigation. We did put money in the budget prior to for a former city manager. And I think we need to just do our due diligence and make sure that that takes place.
I concur, and we did put 30,000 or approved 30,000 for a previous investigation, but another city manager that never happened, and so we have done that. Ms. West, public comment, is that acceptable in this forum? Where was it? Because I have 2 yellow cards.
Right, you need to take public comment before any final decision
Right,
that you
I knew
make.
that, but okay.
However, this is a personnel issue with your direct hire. So that's the guidance, is you'd have to take
Okay, that's what
public
I thought.
comment before a final decision.
Okay. Does anybody have any further comments before I open public comment? Ms. Kitchens?
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. Yes, I have many concerns with this. First of all, the city manager is your only employee. You are her only boss. So any recommendation for leave should have come from you and not the HR director, with apologies to the HR director. You are in charge of her and nobody else, the city manager. Second, I am concerned with what has been polling of the city commission. Unless the Florida law is changed, it is illegal for you all to be polled and called and ask what your, or emailed and contacted and ask what your opinion is on something you're going to vote on. Yet this is what's happened. I am very alarmed about that. Extremely alarmed. I agree with everything Justin Campbell said. He's spot on. This should not have happened this way. You should have had a special call meeting, and then everything you're talking about now and what is presented to you should have been done during the special meeting. Then you, her bosses, decide whether you're going to put it on leave. I would point out that multiple complaints were filed against Griffith, previous interim city manager, as well as Mr. Bell. This didn't happen to either one of them. They were brought before the commission, and you all talked to them and interviewed them basically with everything that was going on. Ms. Carty has not been given that opportunity. She was placed on leave without due process. Constitution says that you're not found guilty until you're proven guilty you're innocent until you're proven guilty by the court. It also says you have the right to face your accusers in court. Has Ms. Carty been awarded that? No. She's been found guilty, put on leave, and now you're discussing whether to have paid leave or not paid leave and maybe even fire her. Can she face her accusers? Heck no. They got to stay anonymous. I understand that. I very well understand bad working conditions. I worked under them for a number of years. However, if those complaints to you all are anonymous and you don't know who filed them, they're not worth a crap. The same person could have filed every one of them. You all need to know who filed it. Ms. Carty doesn't need to know at this point, but they should not be anonymous and they should not be secret. And I agree with what the chief acting interim city manager said. Let the staff report to him. Let Ms. Carty do everything else, and she's not going to know. Or have everybody report to her. How's she going to know who filed it against her? And I probably may or may not be able to speak on the next issue, but the chief, if he's willing to do it, is a damn good, excuse my English, city manager. He's good at everything. So let him stay as the interim city manager until you make a choice. However, I would suggest that you either give her paid leave or bring her back. Like I don't know which one of you suggested, go back to the beginning before all this happened. Then you decide if you're going to put her on leave or not. But she certainly, the least she should be awarded is paid leave. But she needs to come back and this is done. You all gave Bill that opportunity. Don't treat her any less. She deserves that. She is a good person. And I might say this. Not every employee is ever going to like the city manager. I've heard complaints against all of them from Alan Bush all the way up. And I'm not saying the employees' grievances are not founded, but is that what not the human resources are for? So you can go and talk your grievances out. But please give Ms. Carty the consideration she deserves. Thank you.
Ms. Wise, did she leave?
She didn't think she was going to speak and she left.
Okay. Anybody else for public comment? Seeing no one close public comment. Okay. How would we like to proceed?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we move forward again with releasing the administrative leave, allow Ms. Carty to return back to work, appoint a assistant city manager for employees to report to. and launch the external investigation on Ms. Cardi.
I second.
We have a motion, a second. Go ahead. Are we going to say something, Commissioner Bowe?
On the question. On the question.
Okay, roll call, please.
On the question.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I don't have a problem with anything Commissioner Campbell just made as a motion. But the only thing of it is the assistant city manager position. I think that should be on a temporary basis, I think.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that being said, I just want to be clear on that, but yeah.
So I'll make it a.
No, you clear.
No,
you
I
clear.
want to make it a
please,
part.
please, for the record.
And this may be, since I'll second, well,
Right.
I'll make it, but the assistant city manager serves in the capacity of assistant city manager until the investigation is complete. Acting city manager.
Right, and Commissioner Davis?
Second.
Okay, so,
We have roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bowe,
yay, you change direction.
Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Carrera.
Yes.
A lot of random.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
So we talked about having an acting assistant city manager. Do we have to determine that person or,
Yes,
okay,
yeah, that was just the one motion to make. the
yes,
decision.
correct, okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Somebody else want to make a motion?
Make the motion that we select Chief Shaw as the acting assistant city manager doing this investigation.
Second.
Second.
Did you say second? I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay. We have a
Oh.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes,
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Carrera.
Yes.
Now, I don't have,
I just
go.
like to know why, I'll just hold my question, I'll talk to her.
Go ahead.
as far as compensation, because we did compensate the city manager for operating in two capacities as city manager and finance director. Is that the same consideration for Chief Shaw acting as the chief
Yes,
as well as the assistant?
yes. It's same thing, and normally we give
Yes.
a stipend of how much, Ms. Jones? Generally, when somebody step in that role there?
Well, Ms. Carter's was based on so many hours that she put in on the two different positions. Based on her hourly rate, if she was putting in 20 hours a week for that position, then that was the additional that was added on to her pay. So we had 20, we had 15, so we had different areas determining how many hours were needed to be active in that position.
Okay.
So I have a question for
No,
the dais.
yes, sir.
Shouldn't we make it clear what roles and responsibility that
Yes.
the acting assistant city manager have? We need to make that clear now so that we don't, it's not a guessing game. Because she don't have any authority once she comes back, or is it limited authority?
Right, that's absolutely correct. Would this be almost equivalent when until the investigation is over? Would it be almost equivalent to like an interim? And normally from an ICMA standpoint, interims just do what they can to make sure that the wheels stay on the bus, and we're not making any major policy changes, and we're not hiring like lots of staff, in this time period. So that would be, I think, a consideration in this regard, just operating a little bit more of a limited capacity until this investigation over, unless it's going to impact anything to do with city operations that going to impact our services to the citizens, whether public health and safety, or anything along those lines. That's just what I would make a recommendation for, but that's, I don't know what y'all thoughts are.
Power and authority, that's what I want to know, because that's what you have to
Let-
define whether she actually have her power and authority is coming back, or she's just gonna come to work. So it's two different things, because we're saying that she can't give any direction to her direct reports.
Employees, yeah.
So her direct report would be the acting city manager,
Yes,
and she just disseminate orders through him,
correct.
or what?
Well, because she's gonna have to, because otherwise she would be giving her direction to her direct staff. So now that would go through the acting assistant city manager, who would.
I think creating
Yeah.
that truthfully creating that probably create a bigger problem
Yeah,
when you
so-
start thinking about
Right,
it.
we just, okay, well, just whatever, what you think might be better. I mean,
Honestly,
I'm open.
If we
honestly,
bring her back, we bring her back.
honestly, that was my
If
initial.
we bring her back, we bring her back.
Because even the
Yeah.
point of what was talked about before, being that the things have been brought before us, and this is what I was alluding to before. If those things were to continue to happen that have been now officially documented and brought before the commission, it gives us the opportunity, if she still continues with those behaviors with those individuals or anyone else, the opportunity to look at this thing now in a different light. We know that administrative leave is an option, but also, we also know that there are other steps that could be taken, that can be taken in consideration as well, because these things have been officially brought to us pending the investigation. I believe, I made the motion based on trying to have a compromise and trying to have a protection of all of those that are involved. But ultimately, if it's going to slow down, we can't have her on administrative leave for 4 weeks, or we can't have, I don't think that we will be as productive as a city. Because we don't know, we still have to, do we have to do a RFP for, investigation?
And our finance director can speak to our purchasing policy, but there are
They
certain
can
guidelines
see.
where you wouldn't necessarily
Do
trip
that.
that. So if it was under for 25,000, you could just go ahead and contract out without putting it out for a bid.
So even with that, the motion was made and it included going with the investigation, so that can start, the outreach can start as soon as tomorrow.
Right, and there are numerous exceptions to going out to the competitive process, and this would fall within that.
Gotcha.
Commissioner Boyle.
All right, so, yeah, like, I think you might have already brought it up, city attorney, as it relates to what we've had in the past, and I did see, comments in the weekly reports as it related to the continuation of the former city manager's investigation. I seen that in some of the, notes. So the funds are still there, so it should be a pretty easy process. And so I think it was 30,000 that was in place. And so I think, that would be something that however, before quick get ready, we need to continue that process.
Commissioner Jones.
If I may, Mayor,
ahead.
Commissioners, we did look into if this, needed to be investigated to some, actual law firms to do the investigation. One would be able to take it immediately. The other would not be, maybe a day or so. But we have two that would definitely be right in the budget of what we already have, way under, really, that are willing to take on the case. If you also decided to go that direction. So
If we're gonna do it, I think we need to go with someone who's gonna be able to take it immediately.
okay.
Commissioner Jones, did you want to say something?
Attorney West, point of clarity and a point of order. I, after hearing a motion and what it would entail, and we already voted on it.
We can do
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, we did.
I-
vote, we
Yeah,
did vote.
there were two motions.
Not the
that
money portion,
Were
not,
voted on unanimously.
yeah.
yeah,
You can do a
so.
motion for reconsideration if it's something that you.
Yeah, a
You can
motion for
bring it back.
reconsideration
So-
on that motion because it,
Wait,
act-
what
Pardon me,
did you
go
say,
ahead.
Ms. West?
It's not, ideally, it's the person who made the motion. If you're going to do a motion for reconsideration, it's the person that made the initial motion needs to make the motion for reconsideration.
I made it. And that was to,
Mhm.
because it's just too many moving parts, I think. And I see the chief shaking his head. And it wasn't a part of what we have done in the past. So I would like to withdraw my motion to have the chief acting in the capacity of the assistant city manager. Because I just think it will bring, it's just too much confusion with direct reports, pay, and other things like Ms. Pierre was talking about being in line and who she would have to answer to. And I think it'll impede the investigation, not by personnel. However, the complainants coming forth, and I don't want to create that. I want to create a different layer. So I would like to withdraw my motion. And I think Commissioner Campbell motion may be more clear. However, we had the two choices of bringing Ms. Carter back or leaving her on leave. And the reason why I asked about how long would the duration of a investigation would take, because she's already on leave, we would have her on leave and it would only be three to 4 weeks. And so she's already there. So that's what I considered as we deliberated just now.
So your motion was to select Chief Shaw as the acting city manager. That passed unanimously. This would be a motion for reconsideration of that, but it doesn't address the underlying motion that was made by Campbell, seconded by Commissioner Davis, which was release leave, appoint an assistant city manager for employees to report to, and launch an external investigation.
So, right, so that's two different motions.
That's correct. It was two different motions made by two different people on the commission.
I'm just trying to get what clarity as to what it is that you want to see before I make the decision.
All right.
for
So,
reconsideration.
Chief, as the acting city manager, and Ms. Carter remain on leave until the investigation is complete. So, but you had a motion that passed before that contradict that.
Correct.
I'm not willing to reconsider my motion.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I am not.
He's
willing
staying with
to
it when we voted
Reconsider
on
my
it.
motion for that.
So what would Chief's position be?
Well, that would be another, if you want to.
You made the
You're
choice to
making
say
another
chief.
motion.
I don't have to, I just said a point.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's why I say I need to withdraw that motion. I'm okay with it.
Commissioner Campbell, you would actually have to, if you don't want the acting assistant city manager, you would have to change your motion because it included the acting city manager. It just didn't identify who.
I said an acting assistant
City manager, correct.
I don't have to amend my motion. The motion who he has to amend his motion because he made the recommendation. I just called for us to have that position there. So I wouldn't have to reconsider mine or change mine. We would just have to find out who we want to have in that position.
Okay,
And I was in agreement with who he stated.
Well, we
Gotcha.
voted unanimously
Absolutely.
on your motion at that point too, because it was too late.
Well done, right?
Well, we also
Yep.
did not, the salary piece, you were explaining that it was based on the number of hours beyond the normal job.
For Chief Shaw. And I
Let me,
could,
hold, before
Yeah.
Chief Shaw, I know we named you.
Do you
Or
want to do this?
Is this something that you're willing to do? Will it take away wanting to do? Will it take away from you being able to fulfill the duties as chief? And I want you to be completely honest,
I will.
because one thing that I've come to determine is even when we were talking, when we was talking about the city manager and her simultaneously doing both jobs, we saw, or at least I witnessed, where there was a lack in certain areas. And so if this is not something that you would like to be, take into consideration, I would prefer you to be truthful, because I know as chief, there are a lot of things that are, that you have to do, so.
Oh, you are correct, but I'll be totally honest with you. Do I have any desire to do the job full-time? No, sir, I don't. I would like to remain chief, when that time comes, but I do understand as an employee of the city of Palaca, as a team member, as a department head, that if the time comes that I'm needed for assistance, I'm willing to step up for a temporary time period. And I do, wanna, emphasize the temporary time period. Um,
Oh,
I understand that, when Ms. Carty stepped up, the finance department is a little bit different than the police department. I do have administrative staff that can step in and assist and help, and for, a short time period, we will be fine. But, I don't think that, this is a type of investigation that will draw out something that's gonna be extensive. You're going to, reach a decision, and I believe it should be within a month's period of time at the longest. If you bring somebody in full time, I don't believe it's gonna take that long. And I base that solely off of, investigations when we do it in the police department. So I do have an understanding of what it's gonna take, how in-depth it's gonna be, and what it's gonna require to reach that in that period of time. But if you were to have somebody that was gonna be part-time, and just get here, sporadically, then it's gonna be long drawn out. And, I'm hoping that that is not a direction that you intend to go in.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else we need to address? Because we still didn't decide the pay thing in my mind.
so what was the pay, whatever the normal pay is that we have for that?
so, and it was
role?
based on hours. How many hours out of him acting as chief and doing the assistant city manager role? How many hours would it require of him to do? If he's working 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week in that role, then his hourly salary, of course, would be an addition amount to his salary currently.
Okay, so between payroll and Chief Shaw, you would figure that out. And then
Yes.
do okay. So we're just approving
Right.
doing that to
Okay.
moving forward.
15, 20 hours, how many hours am I calculating? And I would be able to let y'all know that number
Thank you.
before we go. One question I do have while everybody is here, so we did out of the 5 that I reached out to, that trying to get an idea of a firm to do the external investigation. We did have 2 that came in that were able to do it right now. The one that said he could start, he'll start from start to finish, and he would be able to start tomorrow. To be able to come down. So that one, and then we had one that would be that was in the range too. The cost was 7,500 for that one. And then we had another individual female in Winter Park that would do $400 an hour with a max of 25 hours, which is 10,000. So either one of those.
Can we make the recommendation that I would make the recommendation that you get with legal, to see if she could, I mean, because we're saying we want to start ASAP, but we want to make sure that we go with a firm that
No,
has
can do the job.
that has, if she can just quickly look over. Well,
Ms. Jones asked me to locate investigators that are experienced in this particular area.
okay, well, that's fine. I'm good. Go ahead.
So I guess based on that, not just the cost, but the fact that that person can start tomorrow, to me, that's significant. I can't
That's
make a motion, but if somebody wants.
I'm good. Well, we already gave
Yeah,
direction to go
gave
with the person
directions,
who
So that is good.
started meeting.
All right.
Anything else?
No, just want to thank staff for the work that they put in to help put this together. And again, thank you for your work and all you put in and got us to this point and moving us forward. So
And also just to note that we cannot talk to anybody involved with this investigation about the investigation, whether it be employees of any of the employees or the investigator themselves, just that we're all clear on that.
right. So
So who would the investigator report to?
HR
And legal.
or Chief Shaw?
Yeah, both.
That's this group.
Yeah, but yeah, because you, the commission cannot, according to, have any communication with the investigator nor with any of the people that file the grievances and complaints.
okay.
That's why I said that. So we're all clear about that.
And then the investigator would, as their progress, and of course, would come back and submit the findings to you all. Of course, that you all would get those findings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other question on the table is, who would be reaching out to Ms. Carty to inform her of her return?
The person who put on administrative leave.
That would be me. By process of elimination. I
Okay.
figured that out. Okay, and that's fine. We'll talk about that first thing tomorrow. Do you want me to do that tonight?
But she needs to report tomorrow.
Okay, I'll reach out to her tonight.
What she still need to know.
Okay. And that was the only, right? Just- okay.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Thank you.